I am a program manager at Bondinov, a French incubator that I will introduce you later. And I'm so honored to be here today to host this workshop session with ADYFE and AfroLabs. So today's topic is really interesting. We had already a panel session just before about the dynamics and perspectives of entrepreneurship among the diaspora and what we can do to improve things. We have different testimonies before, and now we're going to focus more on how we can really improve things, how governments, institutions, and network can work together to help entrepreneurs from the diaspora to come back to Africa. Before we start, I would like to introduce you to our speakers. Today, I have the chance to be with Angela Odei from the African Union, and she's based in Ethiopia. Hi, Angela.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are also with Jerry Osaji here with me from the African Bank, based in Egypt and Nigeria. Hi, Jerry. Thank you. Thank you. We also have Consolate Hileji from Jokolabs Gambia online. Hi, Consolate. And then we have on my left, Yusuf Jakite, co-chair of ADYFE. Thank you, Yusuf.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Before I let them introduce themselves and present their activities and what to do for the diaspora, I would like to tell you how really happy I am to be here today to talk about this topic, because I've been working on this topic for more than 10 years already. We've been supporting entrepreneurs, funding entrepreneurs, working with networks here in Africa and incubators, but also trying to create programs tailor-made for our partners to help entrepreneurs succeed in Africa. And we know already, all of us in our different fields, how it can be difficult for people to come back to Africa to be entrepreneurs here. And it's more difficult when you are based in Europe or in another country and you want to come back here. It's difficult because you don't know the context, you don't know the ecosystem, you have difficult access to funding, which we'll talk later with you. And of course, you come here with a lot of dreams and hopes, and you can sometimes be disappointed or disoriented on how to do things. What I would love to do first is ask Yusuf here, who is working with ADYFE on diaspora topics in Europe, what is his vision of how things are working here, what are the difficulties, and what they do at their level to help diasporas succeed.
Thank you very much, Aisata. Thank you for the nice introduction. So yeah, I've been working also with some network in Europe for the last, I think, 7-8 years. And at the beginning, it was quite interesting to see the motivation we have, all the big dreams we had to change the continent. And at that time, after starting, we really faced a lot of barriers. At some moment of the life, we say we need to stop, but we couldn't anymore because it was like we had the reality one side and we have what we want to achieve, till we understood that diaspora is no longer about only remittances. We say, what if we look at beyond remittances? What can happen? What can the diaspora contribute to make this soft landing really good for the diaspora companies to be here? Instead of leaving the continent most of the time saying, because there is corruption, because there is lack of infrastructures, what can we do to make all those things better? So the first idea we came was, first of all, to make sure that we'll have this institutional dialogue with different stakeholders to make sure that we'll find a common program to help those diaspora to understand the local market, to understand how business is really running here. If we are from, I don't know, Kenya or Uganda, doesn't mean that from diaspora, the country like a local people. And how can we take seriously those local partners and to make sure that we'll put our knowledge together to face all those challenges what they face more for us. Because something we never said publicly, the failure of diaspora entrepreneurs within the continent is very high. It's because we have no process to make sure that those things can be operationalized automatically. I want to become entrepreneurs. I'm from the diaspora. Those are the steps, one side, from diaspora side. And from the Africa side, this is one of the reasons why we are here. What can those apps, AfriLabs, for example, offer to those entrepreneurs once you want to settle? Because we don't see Africa most of the time like 54 countries. We see like opportunities. It means not because I'm from Nigeria that I cannot open my business in Rwanda. So we need those information and to make sure that we'll take the right decision to settle our company wherever we are. But beyond remittances, the topics we decided to work on it now, beyond those administrative matters, is innovation. Which kind of technology diaspora can bring to the continent to make sure that the companies can be more innovative. Because we know that there are so many different technologies in the worldwide and no one is using them and people are putting money and and we know also that in the continent it's very high, very difficult to develop a technology. So one side we do have technologies, the other side they need it to boost innovation. Innovation in terms of infrastructures, innovation in terms of doing trade, businesses and all those stuff. So we decided to take this topic for the next 2-3 years and work at the policy level one side. That's the reason why we have Angela here today. Work at the financial level also. That's why we have Jerry sitting beside and making sure also that we have those diaspora companies they really are doing well. They are really bringing this move forward. And so we decided to be here and exchange more with the continental institution and make sure that we'll take our business to a further level. So I think this is the introduction. I will come back later on to a specific point because this is important also to say here. At the end of the day, we are going to talk about how we can leverage on the competencies of the technologies to boost, the continental innovation system. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yusuf, and congratulations on your work on ADYFE. We have online also Ponsole, who is based in Gambia in Africa. Yusuf talked about that many entrepreneurs from diaspora are failing in Africa. Of course, we don't really talk about it. One of the main reasons why is the lack of support. You are based in Africa. You have a network of co-working spaces and incubator. Can you tell us, what do you do in Joko Labs to ease their mobility in Europe? How do you work with them? And what are the solutions that you are creating to help them? I'll go to Angela because there's also a link with what Yusuf said about influencing the policymaking to help institutions create the right environment for entrepreneurs from the diaspora. You work at the African Union. What do you do actually to help this kind of entrepreneurs coming back to Africa?
Thanks a lot for the question. Good afternoon, all, once again. And at the African Union's Directorate for Citizens and Diaspora Organizations, simply put, CIDO, we act as the bridge between all non-state entities or actors, and then with them, we always front for them on behalf of the African Union. So what we do is we intervene, and then we see how best we could streamline most of the activities of civil society actors within and outside of the continent into the programs and policies of the African Union, simply put. Now, with this particular topic or subject area, there was a declaration from heads of state and government on this in 2012. There's something we call the Diaspora Legacy Projects. And as part of that, we have as one of the Diaspora Legacy Projects, we have the African Global Marketplace. This concentrates actually on entrepreneurship and innovation and how best to actually groom diaspora businesses or micro, small, and medium scale enterprises into the continent, and how there can be a win-win situation in both. So CIDO actually has been working closely with ADYFE on a few areas. We started with a 3-day boot camp. That was one of the false starts we had sometime in August 2019. We organized it, and then we brought in diaspora experts, entrepreneurs, and investors, as well as businesses on the continent, We brought these 23 businesses together. We had hand-holding sessions and it went well, but it wasn't, we noticed that the systems weren't sustainable. In view of that, we were able as well to introduce some of the good or the highlights through this bootcamp. We introduced them into the AfriLabs annual gathering because AfriLabs is a bigger platform based in about 49 African countries, and they are doing very well. So we collaborated with them so that they'll be able to benefit from what AfriLabs has, and then network and then gain some kind of knowledge sharing experience as well. Once that was over, we as well engaged with the African Union Development Agency, formerly NEPAD, and then we put together a concept note so that we'll be able to actually champion some of these things. As part of the concept note, we have things like the MSME Academy, we have things like the marketplace actually, so that there'll be access to new markets and growth opportunities happening on the continent. We discussed as well MSME finance and how to provide direct and indirect finance to MSMEs on the continent and outside of the continent. As part of some of these, we had the issues raised of diaspora businesses failing on the continent. In view of that, we as well made mention of various other ways that we could segue most of our projects into for an enabling environment or for a soft landing process of the diaspora. For example, nurturing community and social business investors and entrepreneurs, and seeing how best these businesses will be able to canvas what diasporas are doing. One, a networking platform whereby diasporas could meet with others, just like DIDA is doing now. Then we see to it that there are other establishments whereby we could have access to diaspora finance using another legacy project we call the African Diaspora Investment Fund. We are looking at how best we could get access to finance on some of these issues on various developmental projects that diasporas will want to collaborate to do. In view of that, we noticed the migrant savings, the huge migrant savings in billions of dollars, $33.8 billion, for example. And we are seeing how best we could translate some of these savings into investments, whereby we would be able to have access to mutual funds, we'll be able to have endowment funds, and how best some of these things will be able to seed them into most of these initiatives or joint initiatives, because we noticed that with micro, small, and medium scale enterprises, we noticed that it's really untapped so far as the continent is concerned, and so far as diaspora knowledge and exposure is concerned. So we're saying how best we'll be able to actually sell this out to some of our partners. We've been having some talks, but informally with Afrexim Bank, for example. We've not shared this concept note with them yet. And then we've been seeing how best we'll be able to actually provide insurance, a kind of insurance, so that diaspora monies will be supported. In view of that as well, we have this escaped me. In view of that, we are working with the FAO actually on agripreneurship. We just, sometime last month, we had our first MOOC running, whereby it was basic so that people will be able to tap into rife areas of agriculture and how best to groom some of these entrepreneurs and all that. The second part will take place in Kenya, and then the third one will take place in Ghana, for us to be able to evaluate most of these, see where the lessons learned, and see how best to actually transport it on to another level. But this is part of a bigger picture, like I mentioned, the African Diaspora Global Marketplace. In the same vein, we've been having discussions under what we call the C2C, which means continent to continent dialogue, under the broader framework of the Africa-EU partnership. So currently we have given a consultancy out, and we are having a feasibility study run, and it will definitely come to some of our partners like ADYFE, for example, for them to see through most of the information that is necessary for us to provide a global marketplace that is commensurate with a continental body, and how best we can all be able to tap into some of these. So that's about what we have for now. Thank you. Over, please. Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I was really congratulating you and your team about what you do. You talk about a lot of topics. You talk about market opportunities thanks to your global marketplace. You talked about networking, of course, and funding. This part mainly interests me because at Modena, we've been supporting entrepreneurs like for 10 years, like I said. We've been training them, structuring them, and helping them conquer Africa. But the main thing they face is how do I get access to funding? Because I am kind of a hybrid project. I am between France and Africa. So the funding part is so important and so difficult for them. Here we have Jerry from African Bank, and I will let him share with us what they do to help this funding topic.
All right, thank you very much for having us. It's very interesting. At least you can hear what the diaspora is doing, and of course what Africa is doing to also, promote diaspora business within the continent. For African Bank, we call ourselves the trade facilitator of the continent, and in terms of promoting intra-African trade. And everyone in the room and everywhere will agree with me that Africans basically trade with those outside of Africa much more than trading within themselves. And these are one of the biggest issues we have today. Now, also, when you look at the share of Africa in the global trade, you're seeing 2%. That's another challenge. Then you're coming to African trading with Africans, the issue of cross-border trading. So you have a lot of issues. These are some of the areas African Bank is working. Now, what we do is we promote intra-African trade, industrialization, as well as export development. And by providing both financing and non-financing solution, from also dealing with advisory as well. And most of those things facilitate business across Africa. And we're going to delve into what do we do to actually support SMEs and also the diaspora coming into Africa to also start business or improve their business as well. So from what the AU is doing and also mentioned in African Bank, we see that we can all work together, and collaboration is very, very key for us here. So for African Bank, we believe that for diaspora, we have over 32 million Africans in diaspora. And in a few years' time or many more years' time, you see over 50 million. So when you put together the diaspora, we can say we also have another country in Africa. So we have like the 56-member country in Africa. So that tells you something about the diaspora, very, very strong. And that's why African Bank took that very seriously. Now, our diaspora strategy is focused on how can we mobilize the diaspora resources, both financial and the capabilities of African in diaspora to promote intra-African trade, promoting export and import within Africa and Africans that are outside of the continent. How can we use it to also promote this trade and also the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area? So that is the area we're looking at. And if you look at Africa in diaspora, there's something that everyone talk about. We have so many things in common. We look at our ethnics, we look at our food, our culture, the clothes we wear in terms of our textile. All those things are very, very important to us. And that is why African banks pay particular attention to the diaspora, looking at a strategy that focuses on improving trade and investment for diaspora. So how can we create a soft landing for them? So if we're talking in terms of soft landing, there must be problems on ground before you talk of soft landing. So let's look at the problems that SME face. What are the problems entrepreneur will face if you want to come to Africa? Your mind is off. So what's happening? I'm coming back. There's still a problem of erratic policy in some places. Some will say, okay, if I am in Kenya, it's very difficult for me to get my goods into maybe Rwanda, for instance. Those are still problems. Some will say, even if I bring my business to Africa, I can actually lose because maybe a lot of people don't have the experience. We're talking about skills and capabilities. That's another problem, right? Then there's a problem of infrastructure. That's a problem there. And it is this problem that is where we provide the solutions and we want to give soft landing to those in diaspora coming on. So if we take it one after the other, today, if an African must trade with another African personality, you need to actually go through different currencies to come back. So we have a payment infrastructure issue. Afreximbank recently launched the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, that's PAPS, to facilitate trade and commerce within Africa using African currencies. That is something we believe in, and we want to tell the diaspora that, you know what, you can come into Africa, come back home, do business, and you can interact with each other without problem. That is important, and that is what Afreximbank is doing. Also, we believe in one thing, quality. Today, the quality of goods. One of the problems we have in terms of exporting agri-produce in Africa is some of them fail qualities in terms of standard. And Afreximbank is African Quality Assurance Centers, and this is going to be built across major cities in Africa for us to be able to test and standardize agri-produce. And when you go beyond that, from agri-produce, you begin to go to automobile parts, you go to other produce as well. So with that, I mean, the first one is taking place. They started building it in Abeokuta in Ogun State. And maybe when you have time, you can go there later, you'll see what Afreximbank is doing. With that, we can increase the numbers of agri-produce and some other products coming out of Africa and the quality so that we can stand toe-to-toe with any product around the world. With that, we are saying, the diaspora, that when you come in, we can improve the quality. In addition to that, in the area of skill, one of the strategy of the bank is also to look at skill development. We believe that when Africans go out to the diaspora, you acquire skills. That is very, very critical. So we can attract that skill. We can bring it back home and work with those. So we're looking at attracting those skills for collaboration, for internship, and the bank is investing in a lot of capacity building and collaboration across the creative sector, technology sector, as well as manufacturing. So we're saying, like we launched the Creative African Nexus, which is CANEX, and you're going to see a lot of that in the intra-African trade taking place next month in Durban in South Africa. The Creative African Nexus, where we have a lot promoting the creative culture and showcasing what Africa has got to offer to the world. With this, we're able to promote culture, we're able to promote capacity building, we're able to promote collaboration, and we expect African designers, creative enthusiasts, as well as investors to come back and invest on the continent. And the bank has, committed and saying we are going to spend beyond $500 million in the creative sector within the next 2 years through the CANEX program. Now, beyond that as well, we're seeing the issue of risk. I want to come back to Africa. I want to come back home as an entrepreneur. But when I want to do business, who do I want to do business with? So the bank sets up what we call Mansa platform. The Mansa platform is a KYC and a customer due diligence platform whereby you can validate and verify the identity of another counterparty. So I am here in Nigeria. So basically, I probably want to purchase maybe leather and maybe to validate, maybe Yusuf is in Mali. Okay, this is Yusuf company. These are the best company in leather. Okay, and you see that verified and validated. I have that comfort. So we're saying in terms of quality, in terms of comfort, in terms of risk management, Africa is ready. And Afreximbank is taking the lead by setting up Mansa, which is live. And you can go to www.mansaafrica.com and be able to register and also make sure you identify and validate yourself. This gives you that advantage to meet qualified counterparties and also be able to verify the people you're doing business with. Before, we don't have this. But with this, we believe that the Africans in diaspora can see that we're doing something and we want to come on. We're looking at cost. In the area of cost, when we're looking at financing, because some of our intervention goes across financing, providing funded and unfunded credit in terms of trade financing, in terms of guarantee, in terms of equity financing through our fund for further. Now, looking at those financing, we're talking, let's go to cost. Today, an African in diaspora that want to come in, we say have a challenge in the area of cost. So how do I come in? Where do I set up my business? If I set up my business, I will be able to produce my water, maybe power. You can have access. But Afreximbank is promoting and investing, financing a lot of industrial parks and special economic zone. When you have those kind of things, you're able to co-locate, you're able to share infrastructure. So you see situations where SMEs, light manufacturing, technological park can actually co-locate in an industrial park and special economic zone. And as of today, the bank has spent almost $300 million financing industrial parks and special economic zones across Benin, Gabon, and Togo. So if you look at that, and we're still doing that because a lot are still coming up within West African zone and other parts of Africa. With that, you can reduce your cost. So if the African in diaspora know that I can come in and be able to set up in a special economic zone whereby I can reduce my cost of doing business, I think that is attractive. And the bank is actually investing in that. Also, when we look at the area of policy advocacy, we talked about the ease of doing business. So the ease of doing business, Yusuf mentioned that, okay, what's the information? How can I get this information if I want to set up? How easy is it for me to set up a business in Ghana, or I want to go into Namibia or Botswana? Now, some of the things we're doing is easing those policies, working with the right people, using our own strength, our own influence as Afreximbank to discuss and engage policymakers across the continent so that we can ease the burden that SMEs face. Beyond that, beyond SME, we can go down in terms of the MSME to be able to say a lot of these guys are in informal sector, but how can we improve their capabilities? How can we train them, and how can we get them to formalize their business? So we're doing a lot working in terms of the policy advocacy, training and capacity building, as well as advisory. So we're helping a lot of countries in terms of export advisory as well, working with them to improve the way they do business and how they access the export market. The bank is doing this. In terms of market access, now, this is another thing. So the African in diaspora say, I want to come home. If I produce, so how do I know where to get the best raw material? How do I know who to sell to? I'm caged where I am. So the bank is doing a lot in terms of providing that access to market and democratizing information by, introducing what we call the trade information portal. Now, what the trade information portal is going to do is that you are able to have access to key information that can facilitate trade and open up the African market as well as diaspora market to you. So in there, I can now say, okay, I think I've seen Audrey is doing, this is what you're doing. Okay, I have it. You have the best leather. This is the quality of the leather. You are Mansa verified as well. At the same time, I can pay you in African currency and you can receive your. So the bank is doing that, and we are putting all those together, and the bank is calling it the African Trade Gateway. In that African Trade Gateway, which is critical, you can have access to all those digital platforms. And in addition to that, you can pay. In addition to that, you will be able to have access to what we call the cross-border guarantee as well. So that when you're moving goods from one part of a country to another part, you don't have to be paying custom doing this. With that cross-border guarantee, and the bank is backing up with that African guarantee product, you are able to move with ease. And that is how we're promoting the African continental free trade area, because it's important for us to be able to see Africa as that single market. And finally, before I stop here, you want to come home and you're saying, wow, I want to come. Yes, I want to do my business, but we have a pandemic. There's issue. Oh, a lot of people are not vaccinated. What is happening? Medical issue, the quality issue. May I tell you also, so that we can ease and also allay your fears. The bank is investing and promoting those that want to invest in medical centers. So the African Center for Medical Excellence is being funded and built with the best of capabilities and partners. Will be done across different parts of Africa. And the first one is happening in Abuja, Nigeria, and from there to different parts of the continent, where you have the access to top quality healthcare that is financed and supported by the bank with other partners. Very, very important that you know that you can come, and over time, the improvement in healthcare facility makes it common. And also, of course, when we talk about the pandemic, you know that Afreximbank takes the lead. We don't fold our hands. When the pandemic started, we know that if we have to wait for other parts of the world to fund us, to provide the vaccines, before we have that herd immunity, it could take 5 years and would have lost people. The bank, in conjunction with the African Union, came together and formed what they call the AVAT, African Vaccine Acquisition Task Force, establishing a $2 billion guarantee and discussing with Johnson & Johnson. The bank attracted and able to at least validate and have access to 400 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And that will automatically attract another 400 million doses, which gives you 800 million doses. That gives you over 70, 75 to 80% herd immunity across the continent, which has started happening. I'm sure a lot of countries already have it. With that, you know that Africa is not waiting for anybody. We're taking the bull by the horn, and Afreximbank is taking the lead. And we believe that we can use this to support the SMEs and support the African diaspora that want to come home and do business as well. I think I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you so much. I love your enthusiasm. And I love the fact that you do so much for the diaspora on the continent. I mean, I think like what you do must be like share widely so that my entrepreneurs can know about it and come to you like for advice and for services. For sure. I'll tell them about this. You covered so many topics, and we'll come about it later. But like you mentioned, soft landing as a whole, and of course there is this funding part, but there is also the support part, networking part that I would love Ponsodé to talk about a little bit. Ponsodé, are you here? No. Okay. Ponsodé is facing technical issues. We'll let him present his activities later. But like about self-learning, what Ponsodé does in Africa is kind of similar to what Bontinov does in France. We are an incubator. Like for 10 years, we've been supporting entrepreneurs, and we've been helping them structure and progress in their strategy, but also come to Africa. We mainly work for Western Africa and Francophone Africa. And what we have done is try to connect the continent by creating bridges between our startups that are based in France, that know or not Africa, and I want to come in the continent. We've created, thanks to African, a network of more than 80 incubators or accelerators in more than 20 countries in Africa. And we have created a soft landing program that is still ongoing and helps entrepreneurs from our community to go in one of the 20 countries and have for a month a kind of immersion in the ecosystem. They connect them with experts, with financiers, and they try to help them navigate the local ecosystem. But I think like Ponsodé is going to talk about what they do at Jaco Labs later. Is there? Yeah, we'll come back to him later. Okay, so Ponsodé, are you here? I had questions for you about what you do at Jaco Labs in Gambia and in other countries in Africa. But I think your mic is muted. Yeah, can you unmute it? Okay. Ponsale, we'll get back to you. So thanks to our speakers, we covered different topics about soft landing and how to ease the mobility and the business of entrepreneurs coming from diaspora. I had a question, first of all, for Angela from the African Union. You talked about the policy that you're putting in place to create network business opportunities, but also to help them get funding. My experience is that my entrepreneurs, like they come to Africa, they don't have access, they don't know what kind of support system is existing to help them, first of all. So how do you make sure that what you do is kind of widely spread among entrepreneurs so that they know that they can come to you for support and advice? And I also face the problem of mobility. Like it's hard for them to get like a long stay visa, get a permit to open their studies in Africa, or like navigate the administrative part of the soft landing. What do you do at the African Union to ease this part?
Thank you very much, Aisata. Actually, so far as the information bit is concerned, we're putting together an internet platform or something like, an internet platform we are calling Diaspora. We are saying to it that we are going to advertise all African member states with their constitution, ways of entering their immigration issues, what to expect. Either there's a visa on arrival or there's free visa. Some of the ripe areas in the economy that you would want to invest, they should put it out there so that not only diasporas in their various countries will see it, but other diasporas who have expertise in one thing or the other will be able to tap from some of these resources. So we're putting it together. I have seen the demo of it, and then we've recommended a few other things to be added onto it. So we have this Diaspora as one of the avenues that we can use. Another way actually is, the more traditional way actually is to go through CIDO, which is the Citizens and Diaspora Organizations Directory. And then, like I said, we are able to liaise with every other department, relevant department per your specification. So for example, if you want to have a business which has to do with science and technology, we go to the Human Resources Science and Technology Division for you to be able to, we introduce you in there. If there's got to do with anything with agriculture, we follow suit, as well as if it's anything got to do with trade and industry, we of course, and digitalization and all that, we bank our hopes then on the ETIM, which is the Economic Trade and Industry Department of the African Union. So we use most of these as avenues. More or less, we have other avenues that we use. Because we engage with civil society within the continent and outside of the continent, we are able to actually engage and then have a broader network than the usually state-to-state networks that we do have. However, when we're talking about issues of mobility, that's exactly what we are actually discussing on the free movement protocol. I was in a meeting before now, and we were talking about how goods and services have been allowed by member states to move, but human beings are not able to move, and goods and services cannot, of course, move on their own accord. So we are engaging them, and we are letting them know we had a data collection exercise for them to have an understanding that opening of borders usually does more good than harm, as most states have these misgivings. This is, like I always say, it is a process. It takes time for member states to actualize some of these things, but then we have portrayed with good examples of, for example, Rwanda and all that, for them to see that other African states have been able to do ABC and it is working for them. We make them talk about their challenges and all that, and then we see how best we could navigate through some of these policy areas which hamper businesses and development as a whole. So basically, this is what we do. We engage member states on one hand, engage civil society actors within and outside of the continent, which is the diaspora on the other hand. And then we see how best we can make both meet and then foster all your, should I say, undertakings towards social and economic development. Isata?
Yeah. So Yusuf, like Jerry talked about risk mitigation. When you're an entrepreneur, you look at the risk, you calculate, you're kind of rational, even if there is an emotional part of it. Like, what do you say to diasporas who look at Africa like and seeing like there's a lot of opportunities, but who are afraid to come? How do you deal with this?
Thank you very much. This is an excellent question. Not only Africans are asking us this question, but our friends, European also, they are all asking the same question. We want to go in Africa, but there is no, no justice. How can we mitigate the risk in the business? How can even we meet someone? And one of the key issue, many companies, small SMEs in Europe, are considered like big companies here. How can we get like a partner? Because they think that they have to partner at the same level. But a 5 million business in Europe is an SME, a small company, but is a big one in Africa. So there are so many questions. So that's why we've been working with CIDO since really a long period to try to come with all those questions, to make sure that this Diaspora portal will be something, the reality tomorrow. Why? Because the first point is, I want to go to Rwanda. Okay, I will go online and check information, the incentive we have. Jerry was talking about several things that I really enjoy. It's like I'm dreaming now that they knew what we've been talking for 10, 15 years to mitigate the risk. Beyond risk mitigation, we do have another issue we want to face. The fact that we see Africa as a global market, and we, as diaspora, we don't really belong to any country. We can live everywhere, like Diallo, Malian living in Ivory Coast, moving maybe to South Africa for his business. This is the normal behavior of diaspora, looking for opportunity in the continent. But now, how our partners can create also opportunities to get access to market at all those places. Of course, the intra-African trade fair is already amazing. It's all our dream to be there. But can we have it everywhere, every country, a kind of chamber of commerce? If I am in Mali, I want to buy a South African product, how it can be possible? Because many of my friends in London, they want to buy plantain. They have to order it in Asia to South Africa. How can you want to eat plantain in South Africa, like 5 hours from Cameroon, you have to buy it in Asia because it's easier to order in London. It will come to London, and London to Asia, to Cameroon is very quick, or to Nigeria. So logistic again, risk, if you want to produce or to sell. And the biggest challenges and one of the key things we are trying to do, there is no trade without transformation, first of all. How much product are we able to transform within the continent to make sure that logistic people and e-commerce platform can be able to do their work? Somewhere skill, capacity building, that we are all trying to do to make sure that they will understand that Africa is not going to stay behind. Which kind of strategy can we set up? For example, I'm an entrepreneur. I knew that she's very much interested to work with Afrexim Bank, but she has no way to reach them. Is there any platform where she can just go and take contact and present the product she wants to do? Those are the key before the risk, because the solution they are developing, to standardize product, to do all those stuff, to make sure that you will have like a identity, online one, to secure you, are the things we needed. That's what we're talking about, operationalizing the relationship between diaspora and in the continent. And I'm very happy that they are listening now and they are doing it, they're producing those solutions. But now the market, doesn't matter whatever you will do, whatever you will produce, we need at the end to have the market, and the accessible one. African market is used, they said, but used for whom? Not for diaspora so far, not attractive for diaspora. Why? Because there are many steps for a diaspora to reach there. And if you are not you are not so like a multinational, it's difficult. The proposal we always try to push till the last high-level forum was, we need a new framework of cooperation with diaspora, which means a multi-stakeholdership plus diaspora, which means that CEDO need maybe in cooperation with African Bank to have a specialized agency for diaspora. This agency should be able to see beyond remittances, to see the capacity we need, to see the potential, the trade need on all those sectors. The good news is African Union has now what we call the development agency, but what about the diaspora agency? To focus on all the diaspora matters. And then I'm sure that we'll boost the intra-continental trade. Why? Only because since we are here, we've been eating Nigerian food, we love it. I will be happy tomorrow to order those products and cook at home, but I cannot. Why? Because we did not achieve to transform like Asian did before, to make sure that you will go to any supermarket in Africa and buy and be able to cook. Those are the things that I believe that the continent, many people will be interested. Nigerians are living in South Africa. They are living everywhere, like Malian, like others, Kenyans. So how can we get access to our food? This is the first possibility to really increase our capacity to produce more and to develop the intra-African businesses and with the diaspora. However, we are eating because we are lucky in the diaspora. Anything you need in Nigeria, you can get it from Asia in the European market. But I rather pay, I don't know, €1 more to buy a continental product than buying those products, but I don't have access to it. They are like substitute products, which means the market is huge and is not covered at all, because this is not the first choice that people are looking for. This market is also important because we have many other people focusing on those markets, the international market with diaspora. I think I answered to some of your questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. It was very clear. What struck me about what you said is the part about like the platform. You say like there's no platform for entrepreneurs to get access to everything that is possible for them on the continent. We have so many different actors, private or public, working on their side, not working together. So it's so hard to like gather the knowledge. We had a program at Montenegro called Meet in Africa for Mali. We were supporting 10 entrepreneurs, and we were helping them like navigate in the ecosystem, let them meet with the experts in the country, and also helping them like have a reality check of how to do business there. So it's something really general about like the culture of how you do business, who are the key partners for you, who do you go to when you have an issue, a problem. Like, and Jerry, you said like at the beginning that you had this kind of platform already developed in Nigeria or in Egypt. Pan-African. Okay. In how many countries are you present today?
So we're one member country
in Africa.
And basically we finance projects across Africa. African Bank finance projects across Africa. So the Mansa platform, the one for the KYC, is open to SMEs, large business, everyone across Africa, businesses across Africa to be able to validate. The trade information portal also, you are able to put on your information, you're able to access information of counterparties, of trade information, critical information that can facilitate trade as well. So it's not restrictive, but it gives opportunity to Africans to be able to get information in terms of market information as well, and it to continue to expand. And one of the things African Bank does very well is that we understand that people, do things, separate everyone. We try to bring capabilities together, you understand, so that number one, you can bring down cost, but at the same time, you can also harness the potentials of others. So we see the best people we can always work with per time so that we can improve the resources in Africa. And that is the main thing about even our diaspora strategy, which you will see one of my colleagues mainly in charge of that speaking to that on Friday, talking about the African Bank Diaspora Initiative. But one thing is that we mobilize. How many ways? Various ways whereby you can mobilize the entire resources the financial resources, the expertise that you have in diaspora, bring them together, and you know what, how can we use them to promote trade within Africa, promote export among Africans, promote imports, among Africans, and also African in diaspora. So that's what we're going. So the opportunity even goes beyond the continent to also attract the diasporas, that gone out of the continent. So that's what we do.
Guys, I think it's really needed because, yeah, really, really interesting. Do you work with incubators or support networks or accelerators? Because I think they need you, okay? Because we as Modinov, we say to our entrepreneurs, okay, we have this partner in this country, go to them, they know the ecosystem, they're going to help you. But like, we have different partners, but they're not really linked. See, we have an incubator there, we have the Chamber of Commerce there, we have the financer there. Like, you as a platform, do you work with all these actors?
Okay, so I think that should take me, if you permit me, to go into the SME development program of African Bank as well. So the SME development program is newly launched. The bank has done a lot financing SMEs through different financial intermediaries, but the bank is saying we want to do more. We want to really delve into the SME market. So why are we doing that? Not that we don't have a lot of institution, trying to solve the SME problem today in terms of providing financing and non-financing interventions. But one thing that the bank has looked at all its capabilities in terms of digital platform, in terms of its resources, in terms of its financing capabilities, the expertise in African trade, industrialization, export development, and everything the bank has. And the bank said we want to delve into this SME. So the bank is promoting an SME development program that will provide both financing and non-financing intervention to SMEs across the continent. Now, it's based on the bank is looking at 4 key areas, providing financing solution, which could be credit, and also unfunded in terms of credit guarantee. If you look at SME, most people do not want to fund SMEs because they believe that SME is highly risky, right? So the bank also have the credit guarantee so that you can reduce and minimize or mitigate the risk of SMEs. Now, beyond that, the bank is also looking at provision of technical assistance. So, and I will go there in terms of advisory capacity building. When you look at that technical assistance, which is non-financing, SME incubation is a critical part of what the bank is doing. And we're currently launching our first incubation cohort in the IETF. Now, what the bank will be doing is working alongside strategic incubation partners across the continent who are able to bring up the best across different levels of business, from startup to micro and small businesses, train them, provide that capabilities they need, and at the same time be an accelerator, exposing them to funding, and those that want to go to equity, we're able to do that as well. So that is what our SME incubation program will be doing. I will be working with different strategic partners across the continent, which is very, very critical. Now, another thing we will be doing in terms of that non-financial for the technical assistance is 2 things. The bank, you could see that, it looks big, you don't have a lot of footprint, but the bank is going to be working with different intermediaries, both financial intermediaries and non-bank financial intermediaries. So number 1 is that the bank is not going to be working with only, we're not talking about commercial banks alone, or some regional development bank, but the banks want to get closer to the SME. So what are you going to be doing? We're going to work with microfinance institutions to be able to reach more SMEs, because sometimes some people see a kind of barrier. When you see the building of a commercial bank, some don't want to enter. I mean, let's be practical. I grew up selling as well. You understand? But you see, you can enter when you see a microfinance standard in your area. There's this kind of, you have an affinity you get. So the bank is also doing that. In addition to that, the bank is promoting alternative sorts of financing, using factoring companies, leasing companies to be able to, support SME for pre-export financing, get them to be export ready, working with export agencies that can provide financial and non-financial intervention and, advisory stuff. the bank is doing that. Of course, we're working with financial technology. We're working with fintech companies that are focused on SMEs, because the bank, I mean, the foray into digitization is very big, and we're working with a lot of digital entrepreneurs as well. That is very, very, very critical. So in terms of platform is going to be big. It's something the bank is investing in. And Mansa, for the KYC due diligence, the bank will be big on that, so that when you validate somebody or you have the identity on Mansa, you can feel that, oh, I already know this person. It's like a passport. I already know this company. I can do business with them. I can invest with them. I can go into partnership. You know, those kind of things, the bank gives you one level for you to be able to say, okay, let me see what we can, you know, do with this particular person. The trade information also, the SME is able to have that information that will facilitate trade, that will open up market, because that is key. And it's not restricted. It's the entire continent. So you have information on people.
Quick question. Is it available in French?
So whatever we're doing, it has ability for multi-languages.
Okay.
So it's very, very, very important. And finally, that may come on stream sometime early next year, is the SME portal and knowledge hub, which the bank wants, in understanding that SMEs still have the issue of capacity, skills, while we have local partners and the staff of the bank working with different SMEs as well as intermediaries to upskill them, and their personnel will also have a platform whereby they can visit, interact with other SMEs, and be able to gain valuable knowledge, even knowledge as small as how to, you know, do business in other countries, how SME faring in other countries, knowledge on exporting the bank's product. Oh, I need a particular facility, I need a particular support, and I'm in Kenya, and you're able to see the banks or the intermediaries that the banks are working with in that place, and you say, these are the people you will contact there, answering Yusuf's question. So you are going to see that in the SME portal. So you're able to go in there. Then one other thing is that we are not stopping there. People can say, okay, when this money are given to intermediaries or all those things, how do we monitor? How do we do? Because the bank is big on impact assessment. We will have something we call the trade development impact assessment. You know, now, if you do anything without looking for the impact or looking at the impact, how do you improve it? So the bank will be monitoring to see the baseline where these SMEs, when we started with them. In 6 months, in 1 year, where are they now? So you're doing a baseline, you're taking a midline, you're taking an endline assessment of SMEs and seeing how they're growing. How many jobs in terms of key impact have they been able to create between the last time and now? Very, very important for us as well, because that can address social issue. That can address environmental issue. That can also address the risk issues that we're talking about. So all those things, it's what the bank is doing for SME and want to do more.
Thank you so much. The knowledge part, I want to stop there quickly, because the main thing about soft landing is the know-how transfer on both sides. We always talk about how the diaspora can bring the skills and the knowledge to Africa. Like, the contrary is also true. How can Africa bring the knowledge and the skills to the entrepreneurs coming from the diaspora? Like, I wanted to have like your point of view on this, and then maybe Angela online.
Thank you a lot. I think I am one of the face in my network. We believe that we can learn a lot from the continental institution. I think without this belief, we couldn't be here today, because the reason why we are here is, first of all, to try to get in touch with the incubation centers, to transfer our knowledge to them and receive. Even this panel, you will see that Poncelet is here to share. Any panel we had a hub or a continental organization working with us. Why do we want to do that? It's at the end of the day to make sure that we will balance our knowledge and make sure that the entrepreneurs both sides within the continent and in Europe can work together. The concept of crowd-coaching is a concept that has been developed by ADYFE a couple of years already. What we try to do is always to put those people together. 3, 4, 5 diaspora entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs to exchange. At the end of the day, you will be very surprised because they have sometimes more to bring to you to understand better the market that you think. Maybe diaspora, most of the time, they say, okay, I have skills or I have money to finance. And this kind of cooperation is very good. Why? Because we've seen many, many innovative diaspora projects. They came to Africa after 6 months, they disrupt the market and disappear. No one hear about them anymore. So joint venture creation is one of the key. And we really need to highlight this and say again, projects we want to do, we need to have a local partners. The local partners is really key for many things. Administrative matters, the better understanding of the market. Why? Because it's very difficult to do your market analysis in any African countries. But someone will tell you, you have to go that way. You have to navigate that. And for sure, the person knows what he's talking about. Those make us understand that really without the local companies, incubation centers, local partners, we cannot go far at all. I hope I gave you some insights of
yeah, a lot of insight. Thank you, Yusuf. And I share your point of view on the value of the African knowledge. Angela?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Ponsole is here. Okay. So Angela, quickly, and then I'm going to ask Ponsole my questions. But yes, Angela, what do you think about the know-how transfer between the African ecosystem and the diaspora?
Actually, for us, like I have mentioned earlier, it's been so good because one has knowledge on the ground and then the other has the kind of a new innovation that they are bringing on board one way or the other. And CIDO has never worked in isolation of the other. We always make sure that we encourage that kind of collaboration. We are at the forefront of making sure that we are either fronting or introducing one partner to the other. For example, I remember we're having a short meeting with African, for example, and then I talked about ADYFE, introducing ADYFE on that platform. We meet with the EU, we do same, and we make sure that there are always avenues whereby we could bring both together. So, for example, in the bootcamp, for example, that I mentioned, we made sure that there were diaspora participants, and then we had African indigenous businesses, should I say. So at the end of the day, we always have forge these collaborations so that it would be able to be translated one way or the other onto the continent and vice versa. So we always enhance this trade facilitation, and then we make sure that there's always this kind of networking between the two, because one cannot work in isolation of the other. How then can the diaspora be able to impact Africa without they not knowing what's actually on the ground or the antecedents that they must follow? So in view of that, we always make sure that we have the blend. And like I mentioned, CIDO itself has an engagement process whereby we engage those within the continent, and then at the diaspora division, we engage those outside of the continent in all policy circles. So it's not only with entrepreneurship, but it cuts across. So far as diaspora means development, then of course we cannot work in isolation of the diaspora, and the diaspora can also not impact Africa without that. So based on this is how we work. And then, yeah, we talked about a possible joint venture during the Intra-African Trade Fair. We as well made mention that it would be good as well for us to bring together diasporas actually during CIDO's Diaspora Week at the Dubai Expo. So we have various things that we introduce diasporas and then those on the continent on, so that there'll be that kind of dialogue and it will be consistent for a more sustainable development. Thank you.
So much. Ponsole, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
Finally, I'm so happy to hear your voice. And
Yeah, sorry for the delay. Our submarine cable is down, and we have only one submarine cable into the Gambia, so we are using backup from Senegal. So that's why connectivity has been a little bit iffy for the last couple of days. Hello, you can go ahead. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, you work for Jocolab. Jocolab is present in how many countries already in Africa?
We are in over 15 countries. Congo, Brazzaville just joined us, and we're about opening up in Niger and Chad.
Okay, so at least 15 countries in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
You managed to create networks of entrepreneurs thanks to your support programs and your co-working spaces. What is your experience concerning the diaspora and the entrepreneurship, whether it is like inside Africa or coming from Europe or other countries?
I will tell you one thing we have done very well in Jocolab's Banjul. The Gambia has a very big diaspora population, and if you look at our diaspora population compared to the population of the Gambia, it's one of the most diverse and very educated. So especially since this government came into power, we came out from dictatorship. After the 2016 elections, we are having I will say we are going to be having our first real democratic elections this December 4th. But since the Youth Empowerment Project started, which was the turning point for startup and entrepreneurship in the Gambia, funded by the European Union to the tune of €1 million, a lot of Gambians in the diaspora have decided to give back to the communities, and we have used them in Jocolab's Banjul effectively in terms of us getting a database of who is doing what, in terms of whether they are working in the private sector or in the public sector, especially in the US and in Europe, and then they contribute through Zoom presentations in various programs we organize. I can tell you, for example, they have been a very big force in this new normal we are living, whereby COVID-19 has really affected us. So we have had a lot of our startups in the Gambia benefiting from Gambian entrepreneurs in the US who are giving them lectures on business plan, business development, and stuff like that. Within the general Jocolabs ecosystem, what we have also done very well is that we're able to share among ourselves. So we are our own natural resource. So you have example, whether it's my colleague in Burkina Faso, Sheikh Omar, or in Mali, Seydou Sy, or in Dakar, Fatim, and there are various projects and ideas we want to do. We all contribute within each other, within our network, with the resources we have in our individual Jocolabs. And I feel one thing we should have within this whole program that is being organized is to have a database. There should be a database of Africans that want to volunteer to give back, because we have so much to do, whether it's in startups, whether it's in culture, so that hubs can be able to tap from them. I think there's not been a very good linkage between the diasporans and the hubs, but we that work locally have as much as possible to work directly with our diaspora community. In the Gambia, for example, one good thing is that our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs. So there's a directorate for dealing with that, with the diasporan Gambians. So if you go to the ministry, you can get certain information. Not all countries have that, but I think within the innovative space of what we are doing, we can create that, working with AfriLabs, and say, okay, there's a portal there for diasporans. Register. Are you Lusophone? Are you Francophone? Are you Anglophone? Register your expertise if you want to upload your CV and stuff like that. So when hubs need your services, they can contact you for their respective countries. And we should also assume that, we should also know that in most cases, most of the folks in diaspora, what they are doing is pro bono. That is one thing I will say. A lot of them, I will say 95% of the ones I've worked with, here in my own hub has been pro bono. The 5% is when it comes to specialized consultancies that, of course, we are paid to do, and definitely we have to pay them to do. So that's a little bit of what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really love your system of doing a database in your countries to know who's who of startups. I think it's a good thing to share with other partners. Before we move on, I would like to invite on stage two entrepreneurs that are going to share with us their experiences. They were both born in France, grew up there, and decided to create their startups in Africa. Kadri Diallo from Africa. Hi. Come. Yeah, come. Yeah.
Where? Okay. Give me your...
Yeah. Over there. Okay.
It's okay?
Kadri, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Could you tell us more about what you do and what is your story about, like coming to open a business in Africa?
Okay. So I'm Kadri, co-founder and CEO of Africa. Africa is a marketplace that gathers African culture entrepreneurs, and we help them to get their business online, to get more sales, to ship their product, and to get paid. And yes, I have to say that we started the company in 2016 in France, and 1 year later we decided to leave France, and we moved our headquarters to Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire.
Okay, so you're now based in Abidjan.
Yes.
You personally, you live in France?
I'm living between France and
Okay.
Côte d'Ivoire.
What was the main issues and difficulty you faced when you decided to open your business in Africa?
I have two main issues. The first, more the time. When you leave Europe to go to Africa, everything is not the same timeline, and everything is slower. And as a little startup with not that much money, time is money, and that was the riskier part. We lose a lot of time with administrative matter, all the things that you were mentioning before. And the second was about the human resources management. The recruitment part was not that easy to find the right people and for us to adapt to the local culture. It was really definitely not easy, but right now we managed to get through. But so it's for me, it's the real issue. It's more time. It's like much time, but it's not as harder as when you start your company in France, for example.
Okay. I'm curious to know why you decided to move from France to Africa, because you first opened the company in France.
Yes.
Then you moved to Abidjan.
Yes.
So why?
It was more a personal vision for personal reason. At the beginning of the project, we wanted to fulfill one main vision, to build a company made and built in Africa by African, that have international standard, that can sell, that can help sellers in Africa to shine all around the world. And the business reason is that we knew that the main part of the sellers, the biggest market was in Africa. And if you want to build something in Africa, you have to be there. It's mandatory for me.
Okay. In your business, you help other little entrepreneurs develop their businesses.
Yeah.
How can you do to boost intra-Africa trade?
Intra-Africa trade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Intra-African trade.
Yes. For me, they have to listen what Jerry said, because for me, he said it all. But if I can base to what I witnessed in my business, I mentioned to boost, if you want to boost the intra-trade for me, you have to act on two parts, two areas. The first is the payment, how you can allow a seller in Côte d'Ivoire that mainly manage mobile money. How you can help him to get some payment from buyers in Kenya that use M-Pesa. That's not the same system. The second for me, and the first, we're trying to solve that problem in our marketplace. It is possible to do that. And the second is more depending on the country's government. For me, it's the biggest issue is the logistic part. For a Nigerian seller, it's way more cheaper to ship a product to United States, to USA, than shipping than to ship the product to Cameroon. And we have the example. The price is higher, and the worst thing is for me the custom duty fees. In Africa, the custom duty fees between African countries are way higher and approximative. So
approximative.
Yes, they can. You don't have a fair price. You don't know the way how the thing is calculated, and it's really hard. And this fact demotivate a lot of sellers. In our platform, we have a lot of sellers that just don't want to sales in a different African country for that, because it's way more complicated.
Okay. Thank you, Gallery. Thank you so
Welcome.
much. Rui Mendes. Hi, Rui. Thank
Hello,
you for joining
everyone.
us.
Thank
Can
you.
you tell us more about what you do and what did you come to Africa?
I started my entrepreneur path in France in 2013. I was rented electric cars. Then I developed my company in United States when I stayed 2 years. We was incubating Rocket Space. It's the incubator that helped Uber and Spotify and everything. This company stopped in 2018 because we had the lack to raise funds because a lot of things that we experienced. And at the end of this experience, I started to ask myself, what would you do now? So I started to look Africa, and then I really believe that it was time to take all my experience, my contact, my skills to Africa to start to build a better Africa, like they said in US. And actually, I'm working on a really bold and ambitious project. We are working on designing and producing electric and connected cars in Africa. Why? Because we want to renew the part of car in Africa that is really old and that create a lot of pollution. And we want to industrialize the continent by create micro factories to create jobs and for how do you say jobs for youth people. Yes.
Thank you. You are based in Senegal?
I'm based in Dakar.
In
Yes,
Dakar.
the company is based in Dakar.
Yeah, and you live in Dakar too.
Actually, I live between Paris and Dakar, but the goal is to live in Dakar maybe next year.
Okay.
Yes.
Your project is so ambitious and so innovative. People are telling you, like, what do you come to Africa? Africa is so risky. Africa has so many problems. What do you believe in it?
Me, I turn it more like personal, because when you look at Africa about history, you can see that 1,000 years before, Africa was the Egypt with the big pharaoh, the Empire of Mali, Empire of Ghana. Africa was great. So with the years, it goes down. And I think if we want Africa to come up again and manage technology, science, automotive industry, the diaspora, I think a part of this is the diaspora, because we was in France, in United States, in Asia, and we saw a lot of technology, a lot of innovation, and we really want to bring all these things to Africa, to adapt it to Africa, to help the continent to raise.
Okay. how do you manage to hire people in Africa? Because your team, I think, is international. You have people coming from France and other countries.
Yes.
And they're moving to Dakar.
Yes.
Okay. How will you manage to hire people locally?
It's really complicated. It's really, really complicated. And sadly, I had a lot of my team that is French and live in France because we had problem to find the talent in Africa. Maybe there is a lack of platform. We was talking about platform to find those talents from Africa, from the diaspora, and we are working on it. But if we can have help from another company that can help us to source the talent, it will be easier, I think.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You. Thank you so much, Kadri and Henry. We'll go back to the online session with our speakers. Before we end up the session, I would like to give you like a time to summarize what you want to say and like have the last word before we leave. Angela, maybe.
Thank you very much, Isa. With CEDAW, I would say that it's been a pleasure for us to be part of this event from the very onset. And I would encourage you all gathered here that the AU is committed towards the fruition of its diaspora and is as well committed towards making sure that diasporas are coming to partnership with the AU in its developmental processes. So in view of that, CEDAW is always available for guidance, CEDAW is available for collaborations, and CEDAW is available for the kind of inquiries that you would need. We have answers to that so that we'll be able to together forge forward towards the kind of Africa that we want. Thank you.
Pusle, you're on mute. You have to unmute your mic.
Yes, good evening, everybody. For me, I think the continent, our innovative people have to work with hubs and our university community. I hope next time we get someone from academia here, because when I listened to the last speaker saying we don't have to find talent, I totally disagree with that. There are a lot of talents within our university system. We just have to engage the university community. The innovative space cannot work without the university community. And I will encourage every startup here to engage the university community, the computer science programs, the science programs, engage them and even engage them from high school level. We have a lot. We in Joko Labs, we tap talents every October from our Africa Code Week that we do in several, that is done all around Africa, funded by SAP. So I think we should try as much as possible to work with our academic community and link it to our hubs and link it to a diaspora database of pool of experts that I hope will be championed by AfriLabs as our Pan-African network of hubs. I wish everybody a very good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will let Yusuf say a little word, but just so you know, like we will close the online session, but then we continue in the room, okay? So don't leave.
Thank you. It's always difficult to come after Jerry. Thank you for the first time to let me speak before him. So yeah, we are going to continue after the people remotely, they are leaving us because the connection is not very stable, but we are staying to answer to some questions and see how the collaboration will take place. What we are looking for as diaspora network in the now is to see how, again, we can take this partnership further in terms of technology exchange. Why technology? Because we put the technology in the center of our entrepreneurship program. Without technology, there is no innovation, because you need a technology to boost your entrepreneurship idea to become innovative in the market. So we decided to work on 3 topics the next 2-3 years, which is technology and finance. That's why we have DIDA and Melanin Capital with us today, and we decided to have a look at the trade infrastructures and digitalization for the next years, and we decided also to work on the agribusiness sectors, the diaspora, and with the continental institution entrepreneurs to make sure that we'll have available technology to organize enough bootcamp to get above side to make sure that those technologies will be used, because they are really a lot of technologies, available technologies that we are not using, to make sure that we can scale up many businesses within the continent and make sure that the diaspora entrepreneurship will be a reality also in Africa. So the next step after Jerry, I think we'll just have like an exchange of idea to see how this could be possible and see how, in collaboration with the CEDO, African Union, and the Afrexim Bank and other partners we had, Joko Labs and others, AfriLabs, we can put those things together to make sure that we have a project at the end of the session or at the end of these 3 days conferences. So those are the 3 domains. Also, we have a stand tomorrow, probably. It's all about those 3 topics: finance and technology, trade, infrastructure and technology, and agribusiness with technology. We will continue also the discussion there. So I think Jerry is the one to have his statement again before.
Jerry, a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it's been so interesting looking at the solutions that we all are offering diaspora. Like I always say, Africa is where it is happening. And the important thing for us is not to share the responsibility, but to be ready. I love the response on the area of talent the other time. The talents are available, but what is important is that how do we get those talents? So a lot of collaborations has happened, you know, and what is also important is for us to also catch them young. So, I mean, where are you missing the point? You have to be able to groom them from either the high school, you're going from the high school and different monotechnic polytechnics. And what people need is that unique experience. And I like the area whereby we talk about, we're not only attracting the know-how from the diaspora back home, but we're talking about exchanging the know-how as well. You know, there's something we call the street knowledge. Street knowledge is very important. Some call it street credibility. Why it is very important is that when you are coming from the diaspora to Africa, it is important you have the knowledge of what is happening that gives you that particular inertia to move when in Africa. And something Afrexim Bank has done is to look at the bottlenecks across Africa that can ease the way we do business, that can improve businesses and also everything that support business in terms of trade infrastructure and everything, and be able to, you know, resolve those bottlenecks and create a soft landing across digital platform, across financing solution, non-financial solution, advisory capabilities, and bringing together those people that entrepreneurs might not be able to approach, but simplifying those things and creating access for entrepreneurs, both within Africa and Africans in diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you to all our speakers. This time with you was really valuable. Thank you so much for everything you shared with us. We talked, of course, about the dynamics and the perspective of the entrepreneurship among the diaspora, the issues they face, but also the possibility and the opportunities. We talked about soft landing and how you can help entrepreneurs from the diaspora open their businesses in Africa, whether they come from Africa or European or Occidental countries. We talked about mobility, we talked about technology transfer, we talked about funding also. Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, this briefly, I'm gonna let Jerry add something.
Okay, I'm sure everybody has a particular pamphlet that's going around, and that's the Intra-African Trade Fair that is taking place next month in KwaZulu-Natal province in Durban, South Africa. You're talking about the automotive sector. We're going to have a full-fledged automotive sector discussion, and we have 7 major verticals. We also have the AU Afrexim Bank Pavilion, where we have the Youth Status Program that will take place between 15th of November to 21st of November as well. The intra-African trade is the biggest trade fair on the continent, and it's going to be taking place at Durban, South Africa, between November 15th and 21. And it's also not happening physically, also it's happening physically, and you can have it virtual. We're expecting over 1,100 exhibitors across different industries in Africa. We're expecting well over 10,000 visitors and over 5,000 conference participants. So you're going to have a lot of masterclass, and you're expecting a lot of African heads of state. In intra-African trade, people are not just going to be talking, but I can tell you over $40 billion deals are going to be executed. If you come to some of our roadshows across Africa, those that came to intra-African trade in Cairo in 2018, somebody that has just less than, operating in about 4 or 5 countries as a then. The last intra-African trade after that, she was at the roadshow last week, Monday in Lagos, and right now she's in 18 African countries. And what happened was from the contact she got at the intra-African trade in 2018. So I'm inviting everybody to come over to South Africa, Durban, next month, where you also experience the full fledged of Africa, and you will see the Creative African Nexus as well happening live at Durban. And we hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Now in the room, we're going to let you take the mic if you want. Whether you are entrepreneurs or just members of the community or working for an incubator or an accelerator, is someone here interested in collaborating with the diaspora? Who here wants to work with the diaspora? 1, 2% only, 3%, 4, 5, 6? Okay, I can count. Okay, then come. Let us hear you. Come here and explain to us what you want to do with the diaspora and what is your project and how you want to collaborate with us. Yeah. Come this way. Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
The name is Inogiro Sasanaga. I represent Impact Hub Lagos. Impact Hub Lagos is a member of the Global Impact Hub network. We're based in Nigeria. Excuse me, guys. All right. So we're based in Nigeria, and basically what we do is we help ventures who are looking to set up in Nigeria, scale, as well as gain footing in Nigeria. In 2021, one of the things we started doing was providing that soft landing for these ventures. So we've done for Go My Code. It's a Tunisian startup. They were looking to set up in Nigeria, and of course we work with them to set up in Nigeria. They're based out of Impact Hub Lagos. We also work with Fuzu, which was a Kenyan startup. So these are things that we're actually doing, and we realize that there's actually a larger market for this. There are several businesses out there who are looking to get access to the Nigerian pie, the big Nigerian market. But you spoke about the street credibility, you understand? That's something that if they come and bring in their experts from outside Nigeria, they will not be able to access. But when we work with them, so the first thing we do is we give them access to the community, doing focus group discussions. So when you come around, we give you focus group discussions, potential persons that will most likely be your users or your customers. Those focus group discussions are done within our community. There you get a picture of what exactly the expectations of the community is. You see if your solution actually fits what exactly the community needs, because you have this impression that this is what the community in Nigeria needs. Because doing business in Nigeria, those models that work in other countries technically have to be modified in certain ways for it to take effect here in Nigeria. There are realities such as the inhibitions we have with access to infrastructure, power, and the others. So those realities, you need to hear from firsthand from the persons who are actually experiencing those challenges. So when that is done, the focus group discussion is done. Several editions of focus group discussions are done. You then see if it's something you want to pursue. Then when you pass through that hurdle, the next hurdle you have to scale through is what form or what structure do you want to use to enter into the Nigerian market? And that's where also advisory comes in. So do you want to come in as a subsidiary of your global company? Do you want to come in as a partner? Do you want to use the franchise model? So basically, we're able to inform you on that particular model that best suits your industry. So some peculiarities exist, such as you're coming to set up a coding school. And the reality is that if you attach the word school to your registration in Nigeria, you have some certain legislation you have to actually adhere to. So how do you circumnavigate these realities, basically? So that's where we work with you exactly. So provide that street credibility, knowledge of the market in Nigeria, basically. At the end of the day, you set up the entity, then hiring. When it comes to the other components are just additions. So the hiring, getting facilities and all that. So these are summaries of, this is like a summary of what exactly we do. We're open to support any venture. We're currently working with the Austrian Development Agency, ADA, to provide that soft learning for EU startups in the EU who are looking to come into Nigeria. And for the pilots, we're looking at working with 10 ventures. Last month, we concluded one also with the Austrian Embassy. We brought 4 fintech startups into the Lagos community to see what exactly it looks like to actually build startups in Nigeria. So these are some of the activities we are currently implementing, and we're looking to roll out in the next couple of, we're looking to build upon as the year goes by.
It's really interesting, and I think that we have a lot of to talk about because we work also in this dynamic of startups coming from Europe going to Africa. My question for you is, how do you connect those startups to the local ecosystem? Do you work with institutions like African Bank? Do you work with incubators? How do you connect them to the people here?
Okay, so largely when you come in, first of all, the impact of network is a network of over 15,000 members present in over 100 cities. So you see an impact. You basically get to enter into an impact hub in every continent in the world. That's the first level. So first things first, when you're coming in from any of these centers, you have that network of 15,000 persons. Taking that a step further, we also have networks or partnerships with government, private, corporate, different entities. We are the Southwest champions for the Nigerian startup bills. So we have this network of potential support groups or support entities that these persons could actually work with. And so when these businesses come, of course, we do those introductions. We usually will tell the startups that we might not be able to get you into every door, but we'll know somebody who knows somebody that can get you into those doors you need.
Sorry, I have a small question for you.
Yeah.
One of the interests of the diaspora is the testimony of the people we came before and how well they are doing. Do you have any network of like diaspora we came back home and particularly not doing only well, but some also are struggling, but to make sure that they can advise the group of people coming behind them?
Okay, so in 2021, we've done 2 startups, and you can check them online. That's Go My Code, Go My Code. It's a Netherlands-registered Tunisian startup in the education sector. It's an edtech startup, basically, and they train youth on how to build a tech career. They are currently residents in our campus at Impact of Lagos. Their team is they have a team of about 8 persons, and they are doing very well. We're planning to even set up a bigger structure for them to operate from because they are outgrowing our space. So we plan to move them to a better place. The second person is Fuzu. Fuzu's engagement was sort of different in the sense that the engagement was largely with the focus groups and trying to get them into the community, so making those introductions. So with Fuzu, what we did was we gave those introductions to ecosystem players. They needed a soft launch into the market, and we made those introductions to those different community members or stakeholders. So those are the 2 for 2021. Previous years, we've had some other businesses. I don't have those details, but those are the 2 for 2021.
Can you remind us the name of your structure?
Impact of Lagos. Impact Hub Lagos.
I didn't catch it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you
so much. I have, there is a person here. You want to take the mic? Yes. Okay. You, then Melanie. Okay, go ahead.
We do a translation. If you need a micro, there is a translation going on. You can just have a cask because he's speaking. The 2 speakers, I think, are going to speak in French. Melanie, it will be in French or in English? Give us like some seconds.
Sorry. Désolé, hein, je peux faire confiance en mon anglais. Je peux faire trop confiance en mon anglais. Alors, je suis Mamadou Ndiaye et je viens du Sénégal.
Attends 2 minutes.
Bon. Merci à tous. Désolé pour cette interruption technique. Comme je disais tout à l'heure, je fais pas trop confiance à mon anglais. Donc, je vais parler français. Je m'appelle Mamadou Ndiaye. Je suis du Sénégal. Je viens du Sénégal et je travaille pour la délégation à l'entrepreneuriat rapide des femmes et des jeunes, qui est un organisme d'État qui s'occupe principalement de la promotion de l'entrepreneuriat et de l'accompagnement des entrepreneurs jeunes et femmes du Sénégal. Et c'est dans ce cadre, comme vous le savez également, les Sénégalais aiment bien voyager. On les retrouve dans tous les pays du monde, principalement en Europe occidentale, un peu en Afrique de l'Est et du Centre. Et c'est des Sénégalais de la diaspora qui contribuent beaucoup au PIB du pays, qui envoient beaucoup d'argent au niveau du pays. Malheureusement ou heureusement, cet argent-là est principalement utilisé pour des dépenses de consommation. L'idée que nous avons, c'est de structurer un fonds justement qui permette de rationaliser davantage, d'investir cet argent, de permettre au Sénégal de la diaspora de pouvoir investir sur des secteurs porteurs, de leur fournir l'accompagnement qu'il faut également s'ils veulent rentrer au pays, s'impliquer dans la vie économique active du Sénégal. C'est dans ce cadre-là donc qu'on a structuré un fonds qu'on va lancer au plus tard en début d'année 2022, d'un montant de 3 milliards de francs CFA, avec principalement 3 guichets. Un guichet qui va permettre à ces Sénégalais-là qui sont porteurs de projets structurants dans l'industrie, dans la semi-industrie, dans le transfert de haute technologie, etc., de pouvoir avoir un accompagnement financier et non financier pour pouvoir venir s'installer au Sénégal. Également pour les Sénégalais de la diaspora qui ont juste un projet de retour, qui ont été étudiants, ils ont travaillé un peu à l'étranger, ils ont acquis de l'expérience, ils veulent rentrer chez eux, mais veulent initier des projets entrepreneuriaux pertinents au niveau de leur localité, de pouvoir les accompagner sur des tickets qui vont de 30 millions de francs CFA à beaucoup plus. Nous avons voulu également, à travers ce fonds-là également, il y a beaucoup de Sénégalais de la diaspora qui ne veulent peut-être pas revenir au pays définitivement, mais qui ont de l'expérience, qui ont de l'expertise, qui ont de l'argent, de pouvoir, à partir de leur lieu de résidence, investir sur des projets structurants ou sur des petits projets innovateurs au niveau de leur pays. Donc, il y aura un volet, un peu de crowdfunding, du financement participatif également qui est structuré à travers ce fonds-là et que, comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, que nous allons mettre en œuvre incessamment au plus tard en début de l'année 2022. Et l'objectif à terme pour nous, c'est d'aller jusqu'à 50 milliards de francs CFA de mobiliser 50 milliards de francs CFA pour financer tous ces projets.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. This is a pleasure to discuss a bit more about how we can actually support more the diaspora to go back home. That was a dream of mine. I'm actually French Malian and also with a Congolese passport, so a big mixed. And that was a dream from my young childhood to be able to go back to my home countries and contribute to the continent. And this is how I started actually in 2020 Melanin Capital. I'm the CEO of that startup and fintech. And what we're trying to build is basically the first digital investment bank for Africa and its diaspora, making an infrastructure that is safe for all diasporans to be able to contribute to their home country through investment. What we realize is basically a terrible observations. In Africa, although a lot of international governments and investors are actually investing in sustainable developments on the continent, when it comes to our private capital from the diaspora and from Africans locally, it's only 30% of our savings that are going towards environmental and social projects. So for us, we try to understand why is it happening and how can we actually make sure that we can have the 70% remaining, which accounts for 300 billion of US dollars that could be investing in our local enterprises. So we've actually came up with that idea of building this digital investment bank. And we're trying to solve the problem with two aspects. The first one is investment processing, and the second one is investment structuring. With the investment processing, we're doing what Jerry talked about a lot, reducing the risk and the transaction cost of investing in our private sector. Our private sector is very small and informal, so we need to make sure that we can bring the trust towards investing into those businesses. So our role is to provide tools for financial management and accounting for those businesses, and using the tools that they actually use on a daily basis, like mobile money and the banks that are local. Then we audit those documents because the banks never take those documents per se. So we want to show them that with the methodology that we have with PwC, we can audit them and bring that trust. And then we rate them, giving them a risk scoring. So this way, when we present actually the entrepreneurs to the banks or the investors, they feel that actually 80% of the work is done. There is a remaining 20%, and this is where our service of investment structuring is coming in. We're trying to guarantee all the credit and the equity capital that is coming through our platform. At the moment, we work with Absa Bank in Kenya and the African Guarantee Fund to support 300 women entrepreneurs so that they can get access to finance. Those entrepreneurs, for 75% of them, they didn't have even €1 of funding. So for us, this is this challenge that we're trying to achieve, making sure that there is more capital from local banks, from local African investors and diaspora, and maybe later, that this capital can be deployed in our local private sector. And maybe next steps will be to work with Afreximbank and to work for our startups that are actually exporting, and collaborate also with Bondinov and ADYFE in supporting the small businesses that have this dream of becoming this multinational that exports worldwide and export within the African continent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Ahmed, our speaker.
Yeah, thank you. I may interrupt a little bit. So I'm also from the diaspora, but I have grounded for, so I came from Senegal and Mauritania, and I did a lot of my study in France, Paris, so that's where I did some engineering school, etc. So I came across the financing part in the diaspora. What we have to know is that we have a lot of power inside the diaspora, but also in Africa. The only thing we need to know is that African people are all around across the world. And if you work together, actually the market of Africa may become stronger than Chinese, African, Chinese, European, or American market. So we started with DIDA, which is actually a platform that is a data-driven matchmaking platform. So the purpose is that we want Africans and also diaspora, but other countries to discover the talent we have in Africa and the startups that have a real big market in Africa. So what we made is that we developed an AI-based platform to match investors and startups. This means nowadays we have started our activities in West Africa, sub-Saharan West Africa. We have so far more than 86 investors and big funds like who have between 100K investment in startups to more than 5 million. So what we want is Nigerian startups, but also all African startups to know that when they start an activity, when they start a business, their business is not just about Africa, but they can spread all around the world. Just like if you take a startup that is starting in Paris or, I don't know, somewhere in the USA, this startup is never restraining to that country. When they scale, they always think big. They always think, okay, my business is doing good so far. How can I go around the world? And what we want is to African startups, but also startups from the diaspora to have the same mindset, to think bigger and to think, when I start an activity, when I have the opportunity to scale, when I can raise funds, I should have the same chance than a startup from Paris or from Silicon Valley in San Diego. So what we made is that we discussed with the investors, we asked them what was their investment thesis, what kind of startup profile they are looking for, and what we are doing is to make startups investable. This means even when you have a startup that have a really bad business activity, we help that startup to build a strong strategy to make that business more sustainable through innovation, but we also guide them with different tools. And when the startup is more efficient and that startup can scale, we have the platform that will match them with investors. And what is really important with that platform is that most of the time when you're a startup, you start an activity, you start seeking for funds. We can take the examples of some of the startups in diaspora. When you seek for funds, sometimes you don't have any interest from the investors. They may be VC or maybe investment funds or maybe small investment tickets. They never give you interest, and it's happened more often when you're a startup from Africa or targeting the African market. So what we provide is a way to make startups more investable, but also to provide them with the feedback of investors to say, okay, I didn't invest in your startup because your ticket is too low, or because your activity is not my target, or because your activity zone or your experience isn't my target. So that's basically what we're making, and we want people to know that when you're in Africa, you should think bigger than other startups in the other continent, because as Jerry said, everything is happening here in Africa. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you to all of you for being here today, for sharing your experiences also that were really valuable and rich to us. Thank you to our speakers. Jerry, thank you so much. I think a lot of them are going to chat you after the panel. he's really open and nice, so go to him, no worries. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you for everything you have done for the diaspora. Thank you for having us here today. Yeah, thank you for Angela, who was online but who had left, and to Poncelé also. You'll find them on the Swapcard app. Thank you for being here today with us and sharing your experiences. We talked a lot about diaspora and entrepreneurship in Africa. We saw that there is a lot of challenges and issues, but also a lot of opportunities and actions that were implemented to ease their mobility and their businesses here in Africa. We've seen also that network is the key of everything. We have to help each other, transfer the knowledge, be really, really bounded in what we do. We see also that even if the startup ecosystem is strong and dynamic, we cannot do things alone. We need institutions, we need governments, We need everything, and everyone to move together to make it possible. Thank you so much for having us, and see you soon. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be tomorrow at the ADYFE stand. Yeah, with all the team. So come to see us. We'll be more than happy to discuss with you. Thank you. Bye.